All right. Good afternoon, everybody. You'll see the little red dot in the corner. We are recording. The importance of family engagement. I'm your presenter today, Penny Olmsted. I come to you with 20 years education experience working in rural, urban, suburban, small city school districts, and I'm still learning. But I do want to share with you a little bit that I have now. So building strong relationships. In both the classroom and school-wide level, family engagement and education can make a profound difference in early learning outcomes. When strong relationships are built, families understand the importance of reinforcing what their child is learning within the classroom, as well as set their own routines and expectations at home. And you'll see there that I have underlined two words, routines and expectations. Just as teachers have high expectations for their students, we also have routines within our classroom. So at home, it's very important when your child is learning online is to also have routines and expectations. And I'd like to give you an example. During the pandemic, I went and made house calls. We sat outside on the porch and spoke, or we met out in their backyards. We discussed what we could do to help their student be a better online learner. What we found out is that many of our students did not have any kind of routine or location for them within their house to be able to do their homework or to do online learning. So what I did is I brought desks from my classroom, mostly with their names and everything already on them. This was just the onset of the pandemic. So the students was already in school and they already had their desks. So we made sure that all the students that needed desk had desk, and they were able to make that their own learning area so they could have student ownership. By doing that, there was a significant increase in engagement as reported by the parents. So after this webinar, you're going to be able to, one, explain the impact of high expectations on family involvement and student outcomes. You're going to be able to tell me the reasons that family relationship building is so important and what the outcomes are. Two, you're going to explain 3 common challenges when working with families. And 3, you're going to list 2 to 3 strategies to improve communications with families. So what is family engagement? Family engagement is when families and educators, including teachers and administrators, share the responsibility to support students throughout their school year. What does family engagement look like? Well, it looks different for all different families. It looks different for school districts. When you compare rural with city school districts, it would look differently there also. But there are some similarities, and we're going to talk about those also. But first, we are going to watch what does family engagement look like.
Assumes school is the main place that learning is going to happen. Take Esma. It used to seem to her family and her educators that Esma is always at school. Not true, it turns out. Esma and other students actually spend 82% of their waking hours at home or in their community. All those weekends, weeknights, and breaks add up. When they realized that, the educators in Esma's school district decided to work harder on making the most of the biggest partner in her learning life, her family. This can look different in every school, but for Esma's teacher, it means instead of spending his time arranging a traditional open house, he organizes grade-level parent meetings. Here, Esma's family saw data on how the class is doing in math, reading, social and emotional learning. They practiced new ways to help Esma at home, and set goals for how they'll help her improve. Everyone learned from each other as the group talked about how to help the students. Also, near the start of the school year, some staff from Esma's school visited her home. They looked for the assets her family members can bring to the educational process. They learned about their languages, their culture, their lives, their world. Grandpa offered to be a resource for other English learner families, and the school also listened and learned from the family's perspective on Esma's needs. They learned how Mom helps her calm down and focus. This kind of family engagement also makes it easier for the district to develop individualized education programs for students, including those in special education. The foundation is already there for families to engage in their students' academic and career planning too, making that more effective. Throughout the year, the family can attend workshops at the school on things like mental health, homework, or career exploration. Esma's mom saw those meetings on a poster in her work break room, and now she's inviting other parent friends to go with her. Esma's school district works with local businesses, places of worship, the public library, and other partners to reach students and families where they're already spending time. The school provides information frequently in a variety of ways so they can reach every family. Text messages are offered in the most common languages of local families. Esma's family gets photos from her teacher so they know what she's doing during the day. Communication between the school and the family is a group effort, focused on helping Esma achieve her learning goals. When Esma wasn't sure what to do on a science assignment, her family knew to contact the teacher for a little clarification. Educators take a positive approach as they look for solutions to any challenges experienced on either side. They're always looking for the family's strengths. Also, when mom mentions that Esma has trouble making friends, the teacher knows to refer her to the school counselor. The counselor then helps the family join a local Boys and Girls Club with lots of activities for Esma. The teacher knew to do this because the school counselor led staff trainings on resources available in the community and how to help families access them. There's no danger of a family like Esma's ever feeling like an occasional onlooker. The school knows what families have to offer, and the family knows what's going on in the classroom and how to support it. They feel they are active and regular collaborators and decision makers. The district gives families opportunities to learn how to help children succeed at each level of the school system and to serve on school groups. At school gatherings, Esma's adult stepsister and close next-door neighbor also feel included in the community. Staff at the school are trained to be as inclusive as possible, welcoming as learning partners anyone who cares about the child. Esma's school has moved from parent involvement to family engagement. Not surprisingly, engaged families help students learn better. Staff members like their jobs better. Everyone wins. This is backed up by over 40 years of research. Students with engaged families, no matter their income, background, or culture, are more likely to do well in school, enroll in ambitious courses, graduate, and go on to post-secondary education. They also have stronger social skills and fewer disciplinary issues. How do we make it happen? First, we work to make the shift across an entire school district. Sure, at the elementary level, Esma's classroom teacher is the main person her family interacts with at school, but as she gets older and her schooling more complex, collaboration is definitely bigger than one person. Really, all along the way, the family's interactions with pretty much everyone in connection with the school, from office staff to staff, from bus drivers to principals, will need to be positive for them to truly feel welcomed. So it's a clear expectation in the district. Every employee has a role in helping every family feel connected to their child's learning, no matter what building or classroom that child attends. In Esma's district, a broad team that included school psychologists, social workers, counselors, families, general and special educators, and after-school program staff helped everyone in the school take family engagement to this next level in a way that works for their community. It worked. Esma's family feels like a valued member of the team. Esma, her family, and her educators feel confident that she is learning and happy at school. We have more information about how schools and families can effectively engage with each other around students' learning on our website.
All right. So before we go further, I need to do a couple things first, a couple housekeeping things. If you could send me in your chat box, let me know if you're a building admin, if you are a teacher, or it would be other for the other one. And what that would be like social worker, or maybe school counselor, maybe you're a speech teacher, you're an occupational therapist, maybe you're a secretary, maybe you're a paraprofessional, maybe you're a custodian. Let me know what you are so that I can see how I can better gear this towards your needs. We have a lot of custodians in our school that take an active role with the students. They become their helpers, especially those who are with behavior problems, and it makes them feel good to contribute to the school. And so the custodians play a very, very huge part in what we do with building family relationships. So I do want to try to go back. Give me a minute. No, not him. I always do this, and I apologize. Okay, here we come around. Okay, so the first question was to explain the impact of high expectations on family involvement in student outcomes. And what did we speak about? We spoke about better grades. We spoke about less discipline problems, and we talked about better post-secondary outcomes. So there were numerous areas that we discussed. So we've already covered number one. So let's go on to the next one. All righty. So this is going to be with an interview, and his name is Foster Dixon. Foster Dixon comes to us from Alabama, Booker T. Washington School. And what happens is before we start building this relationship, we need to know how to communicate with some of our parents. So he's going to describe his framework, and then I'm going to share out some things, and we'll talk more, okay? Okay. Wait 1 second, please. It can never be easy. I apologize. Let me go this way. Okay, and just do it this way. This might be a little bit easier for me. All righty. All righty. Okay, what I want to show you first is there's this is how I do it when I'm at work. I'm one of the teachers that sends out texts and sends pictures at home. And the reason I chose to do that is I'm only a resource room, not only, but I'm a resource room. And my students have also home rooms in general ed that they go to for content, social studies, science, And then, of course, they have their therapies through the week or through the days. And what I like to do is share. I just want to make sure I'm still sharing, you guys. Oh, yay. Okay. Just want to make sure I'm sharing with you guys. I am going to share with you my home report first. Okay, so this here is a picture of a home report, and my students fill out the report all the way to the bottom until I write down there. Now I'm going to explain more of that to you. Um, in my home report, the student comes to their desk at the end of the day. They write their name and the date today. Today they felt happy, sad, whatever. Today they did what, and there's all their activities that they do. Their specialties were, which would be art, library, gym, music. And if they had services that day, I went to speech, OT, et cetera, et cetera. Now, at the bottom, where it says from notes to the teacher, I never write anything negative there. And I'm going to explain to you why, unless there's something in agreement between me, the child, and the parent. Um, First of all, we all have not perfect days. There are days that we have that are a little bit rougher than other days. Um, that's typical. That's how adults are. We don't have no one reporting to our parents at home um, that it was a bad day. Okay. Now, when I see a pattern of 2 or 3 days, something's going on. So, but I will make contact with that parent. I won't do it through writing here at the bottom unless there's already a behavior plan in place and me and the parent is tracking through it that way. But I don't ever write anything negative on there, especially for the first time. And I usually give it 3 days. Maybe a student's not feeling well, maybe something's going on at home. But I do give it a couple days first, especially if it's really out of the norm. And then I'll speak to them about it and um, um, in person. I'll text them and ask them if I can talk to them or if they want me just to text, whatever's convenient for them. And then what I do though is I do copy it before I send it home. If there is ever a problem, like with the behavior intervention plan and I'm tracking, and then that's also my form that I can use too and supplement to my ABC charting. So I try to keep this as positive as possible because that again empowers the child, and that's what we're here for school. We're trying to keep them on the right direction of learning. That's what our role is we want them to learn, and we're going to do everything we can in the school to do that. And when we talk about relationship building, um, this was a really cool activity. And what we did here is we had a one school, one book. The whole school read a book last year. And when we did that, there was things that we all did together, like as a school family. And here's some examples here. And you'll see where it says we know the benefits of reading out loud to students, but not all students have that at home. So we would use our older peers as peer buddies to read to the younger kids, and they would get that little check off. The whole school, we would have a morning meeting about what was in the book, what we read so far, because everyone, followed along. And then there was an activity sheet each week that the families would do with their child. And it was just really, really a good activity. So that's another way for relationship building. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Because now I want to talk to you about one of the barriers being culture. Um, you'll see there's surface culture, there's unspoken influences, and then there's unconscious influences. But we're going to first briefly talk about the surface culture because most schools are touching on this. For example, when we celebrate Cinco de Mayo, classroom teachers are usually seen sharing videos, making crafts, and having various guest speakers for various religious holidays. Now, when we drop below the surface, those are the unspoken influences. And one of the areas that I want to mention is personal space, proxemics. Um, and I'll give you an example. Like in Tokyo, Seoul, Rio de Janeiro, and other cities, they have subways, and on their subways, they have a special place for women to sit who want to sit there and not be close to other men because of their violation of their personal or intimate space. And I'm going to give you another example. We were having an evening activity at school, and there were stations, and all the students were going to all the different stations doing activities. It was like a team building activity. And what happened is, some of our parents have more than one child, so they're at different stations. So the parents running around trying to see all the children. Well, we were doing in our room, we were doing shaving cream. And in the shaving cream, you can use that and you get sensory, tactile, kids learning to do their ABCs. It's a really good tool to use. So what happened is, the little boy's mother came into the room and he got really excited, ran up to her, and she had this beautiful long garb on, and his hands were all over her. So my one staff, he was a male, he's our adaptive phys ed teacher, ran over, got dampened wet paper towels, came back because he was worrying about the shaving cream being on her outfit, and he wanted to get the white stuff off of her. Well, she was frantic and panicked and ran out of the classroom because a male was touching her, was in her personal space. That's something that we don't always think about because our culture, we're a little bit different in, Americans. So that made it quite uncomfortable for her. But that's just one of the examples. And if you even dig down deeper, when you drop real below, then you're going to talk about eye contact. Eye contact, some cultures, they don't, do eye contact. Men aren't supposed to look at women in the eyes. So there's a lot of different things that we have to consider when we're working with different cultures. I just thought that that was a good way to introduce a barrier. Like when you work in rural areas, transportation's a barrier. Not all parents can make it into the school. In poverty-stricken areas, you have they could probably drive there, but they don't have the gas money to get into the school. So then we use other ways and means to build up our relationships with the parents. One of the things that we're talking about now in school is we want to get magnets, just a magnet, and design it ourselves. Like 3/4 of it would have all general school information, like who do you call in the morning to report off to, what's the principal's name, what's your teacher's name, what's the secretary's name, what's the clinic's aide's name, who's the counselor, who's the related art, your art, art, social studies, etc. If you're with special ed, who's your special ed case manager, who's your homeroom teachers. Then the very bottom part of our magnets, we want to leave space for IEP meetings because we want to start telling our parents way in advance, hey, I'm looking at October and this is August. We need to, I'd like to schedule with this date, or this date work, and then they can circle it, and then we can secure that date, and we can have them already set, and it's on their calendar, where for weeks before you're battering, going back and forth, trying to set a date and establish a date. So what we're doing is we're wanting to be more accessible to the parents. We feel that we're giving them so much information. A lot of parents, and especially in rural areas, they don't have email. They don't have that capability. So there's other things that we have to look at to try to build those relationships. So next, we're going to go to the next screen and do our toolkit activity. When we go to the next screen, you're going to be first pairing up with a friend, coworker. If you can't do 2 and you need to do 3 or 4, that's fine. But the more smaller groups we get, the more ideas and examples that we can get. And then what you're going to do after 5 minutes is you're going to write on one sheet. I'll show you. How do families want to be engaged? How do you think people, parents, guardians in your school district, in your school want to be engaged? What do they like to do? I know we always have a carnival at our school at the end of the year. We have so much family engagement during that time. Some people have cultural like dinners. Someone brings, they bring their own type of food to our dinners and they share out that way. How do you think your families would want to be engaged? And then the other area would be, what can schools do to increase engagement? Well, we did see that one example of that of the parents inviting like they had trainings. That's what it was. Yeah, they had trainings, workshops, or whatever for parents. So they sent the flyers out to certain businesses that they were working with, and they would have them. Now, what happens with that is, if you're a school and maybe your topic's going to be ADHD, well, we have a lot of that. So there's going to be parents that would want to come in, and we're not trying to push medicine or talk about medicine, but there are other things that parents could be doing. Less screen time in the evening, less soda in the evening, so they can get better night's sleep. Some children have sleep apnea. They don't even know this. Yes, my child snores a lot, but I never even thought of sleep apnea, they may think. There's a world of information out there that we need to get to our parents, and we're not trying to sell medications to them. There are a few that would benefit from it. We all know that. And usually those parents have approached it. And I know in a couple of my cases, my students have done very well with it, but medicine is not for all the children, and we're not here to push that. We can't do that. So for 5 minutes, I'm going to have you think of things that you do, and maybe this will give you time to speak with your partner about, oh, well, maybe I've done this wrong. And maybe the partner might have an idea for you. Let them critique you, and you critique them, and then give me some ideas of what can schools do. And we're going to be sharing this all out. You'll put your one idea of each in the chat box so that everybody can see that. And then we can talk about it later, or send it out through email. I see we're losing some time here, and I apologize for that. So when we go back to the webinar, the expectations, you were supposed to come up with some challenges. So you're going to be thinking about that. What are some challenges? And then we already talked about that. And then strategies to improve communication with family. Well, we've seen videos. I've shared papers. We've talked about the magnet. I'm sure you have plenty of ideas too. And if you want to, you can also throw those into the chat box. All right. 5 minutes is up. Building relationships online. If it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't have seen how wonderful online could be. Online's not for everyone, and just as in school's not for everyone. But when the COVID-19 pandemic began, face-to-face instruction rapidly moved online. As the pandemic stretched into its 8th month, many students continued to learn from home, either full or part-time, potentially alongside parents who also worked from home. This gave parents a new level of access to students' day-to-day schooling, including the opportunity to sit in on courses with their child. And while increasing family engagement in schools can be challenging, even without the complication introducing a global pandemic, determining how best to engage families in their students' education is as, if not more, was more critical than ever. One of the things that we do is every Friday, you can expect it. It's going to be in your email a week. It's like a newsletter from our principal, and she's recapping the week of things that happened and sending group pictures and everything. And it goes out to everyone in our school. Maybe she's sending out a kudos to one of the teachers for doing something special, going over and beyond. And one of the things that our teacher does to engage, our principal does to engage us, is she has little ducks, and she might quack us, which means she's seen something we've done great. And then we get a little duck with a little reward on it, and it's really nice. It gets the staff and more involved, and it's part of relationship building. Before I go, I just want to check to make sure I've touched everything. Alrighty. Looks like we're still going along, still recording. Everything seems to be going well. Okay. So there are 7 principles of effective partnerships, and we've already talked about so many. I'm just going to just touch on them a little bit. Communication. We've talked about communication, how you start communication, how you have a framework of wanting to communicate with your parents. That's important. Professional competence. I know during the pandemic, I went back to school so I can get reading endorsed. I wanted to be very high quality during that time because I knew technology was going to be a barrier for me. And while I was in school, I got more ideas and was able to deliver good reading programs that way. So we always want to improve our craft. Okay, let me move on. Respect. We need to treat families with dignity, honor cultural diversity, and affirm strengths. Um, Commitment. Teachers are available, consistent, and go above and beyond what is expected of them. That I know I work, and this is just me, because I get up so early in the morning. I don't usually get lesson planning time. Because of my students and their high needs. So I get up early in the mornings before school, and that's when I do a lot of my lesson planning time. But by the end of the day, I just want to come home and go to bed. But on the weekend, every Saturday in the morning, my children are grown up right now, so I have the time. I go in then, and that's when I do my lesson planning. And that's a commitment that I have to make, or my students won't get their lessons in the appropriate way. Equality. Teachers recognize the strength of every member on their team. Advocacy. This is an important one because there's sometimes you're not going to be in the perfect relationship you'd like to see yourself in with a parent or a guardian, but you still need to advocate for that student for their needs. Trust. Teachers are reliable and act in the best interest of all students, sharing their vision and actions with the family. There is so much research out there that has done study after study, and there's nothing negative that's came out with regards to professional partnerships and family outcomes. It's all been quite positive. There's the names of some authors and that for you if you need to go back and double check some of my research. And again, this PowerPoint will be sent to you. There, upon your request, there's my email, pennyolmstead79@gmail.com, and my website, Penny Olmstead 79 website. And just go to my website. There's a lot of different things on there, ideas we can share back and forth, my blog. Um, it's a good place to stop and see who I am. But above all, my philosophy is to elevate others, not bring others down. And you'll see that also on my website. Through God and Christ, I can do everything. And with the help and support of parents, I can do almost anything with their help too. So keep that in the back of your mind. And please use these resources. And if you want any of the handouts that I had posted earlier for you, please feel free to reach out and I will send them also to you. Thank you and have a great day. And